To Need for Speed and then Gran Turismo. And the biggest thing for me was AI, the computers, very hard mode, not even a challenge at all. My name is Curtis. I'm a driver on the Axon Endurance team. Somebody who's totally into motorsports, likes playing all the racing games out there. Sim racing, arcade games like Gran Turismo, and any games. Cars, I've always been into them, but never liked working on them. Maintenance, all that stuff doesn't interest me. But driving, long road trips, you know, just feeling cars get loose in the rain, snow. Yep. Racing background, you know, unfortunately never had the chance to be out there on a real track. Only most recently went to a track day in somebody else's car. Had a great time, but yeah, as a kid, go-karting, I went to rental go-karts all the time. My mom was even told by somebody that, you know, you should get your kid into go-karting, but money was an issue and I could never get into that. Yeah, so the most difficult thing preventing me from getting into racing would definitely be, you know, money, but also the support from family. You know, nobody in the family likes me doing dangerous things, and racing is right up there. So yeah, never would have got the full support from the family there. So my full story is, you know, first it would have started with Need for Speed and all those, you know, other racing games, even Mario Kart. That's the start, Mario Kart from the start. But into Need for Speed and then Gran Turismo. And the biggest thing for me was AI, the computers, very hard mode, not even a challenge at all. And next thing I realized and discovered was Gran Turismo had ghost cars, and beating yourself is the best opponent, really. You could always attack for that last half a tenth, you know, even a, you know, thousandth. And I did laps, thousands and thousands of laps back in the day. Got good enough to start, you know, doing land competitions in Gran Turismo, and even in 2006, I went to Paris for the ESWC. It was ahead of its time for esports, but I competed in the Bercy Arena. And if you Google search that, that's where a lot of the go-kart races happen with like Schumacher, Hamilton, all those guys. They turned that arena into a go-kart track. And yeah, it was in an arena, big jumbotron, everything like that. Finished 5th place, made enough money to pay for my whole trip. Had to pay for my own trip to go out to Paris, which sucked. Canadians weren't allowed to compete due to competition rules, Quebec mainly. And so yeah, as a 18-year-old, paid for my whole trip just to go for a competition. Turned out well. Next you know, find you and your monthly competitions, which were great. And yeah, the competitive level of sim racing was enticing.
And you can get involved too. And Curtis Fung looking very close to the back of Chris Damron Jr. and he gets alongside as they go towards the diving turn. This is a very narrow, difficult corner. Can he take the outside line and stay on the track? Damron Jr. manages to keep it alongside, and he's done a brilliant job. But I think Curtis Fung will take the line into turn 1, and he makes it stick.
The biggest thing is it helps you realize what loss of grip feels like. I honestly feel like a lot of people out there never experience it until it's too late, whether that's in the rain or snowy days. They just don't know what to do with loose or wet conditions. So I don't know, back in the day, I've always enjoyed parking lots with wet conditions or snowy conditions, and it feels one-to-one to me. When you're driving that fast in a sim, it's going to translate to, you know, a loss of grip on the road, and you know, it feels like 70 kilometers in the rain in real life when I compare it to a sim. That feel, you know, I get that same sensation. It makes you aware, I would say. Spatial awareness, just feeling more connected, and you know, even helps with defensive driving. You know, knowing what other people are up to around you. So yeah, when you're out there in the real world, spatial awareness and all that is very important. Yeah. Favorite race is what we just finished today, the Nürburgring 24-hour. Always look forward to that on an annual basis. The track itself is one of the best ones out there. You can't beat, 120 corners or something like that. Yeah, and sometimes, a fun fact is if I'm bored out of my mind or need to wait somewhere, close my eyes and drive the Nürburgring. Yep. Yeah, the race was looking great. Dean, moved up a few spots right from the start. We kept plugging away, and next you know, we were fighting for top 5 and then fighting for even top 3. We were at about, I think, the 18-hour mark when things went a little sideways on us. Yeah. And, it was a tough decision to keep plugging away at it and aim for the next goal, which was, the best we could look for was a top 10. Glad we stuck it through because we ended up having to race 9th place really hard. Some other people had some unfortunate events, and we ended up finishing 8th. So, not what we had hoped for, but that's still an accomplishment, especially when it was split between 2 people. So, yeah. There was one event that I competed in. I think it was a year and a half ago, 2 years maybe. It was the Rotax Skip Barber Challenge, and I don't know much about it, but Rotax is totally go-karting world, and that championship, if you were the winner, you won a ticket to I think it was Portimao Grand Finals or something like that. 40 people competed in it. Majority of those guys, I think, from what I remember, were a lot of go-karters, young go-karters and whatnot. Even a couple Formula driver racers who were doing, Skip Barber schools and stuff at the time. But anyways, I think through the finishing of that race, main event, I think I was as low as 18th at one point. Kept plugging away. The race was a really tight race, pack race of 35 cars at some points. Finished 5th place, which ended up being the highest finishing place for a sim racer.
That will really, really shine, and Curtis Fung is one of them, the Canadian, running in 7th, and I think he's trying to hunt down Jerzy Glacz from Poland. So that's the battle for P7. He's only like about just over a 10th as they're about to head into turn 5, and Fung pulls to the outside, and that's something that Carters will do. And is he going to keep it pinned around the outside? He does. They go side by side through the halfway point, and it's still down the dip, heading into the left-hander at Revolver. And I think that's a great move from Curtis Fung. Great move from him.
So that was already quite the accomplishment for me. But it was also cool being one of 3 Canadians in the top 5. The winner being a pretty good go-karter, I think, some Patrick Woodtoss or something like that. And then I think his coach was even 3rd place or something like that. So just being compared to real-life race car drivers gives me that sense of accomplishment and the fact that my skills kind of measure up to some of these good people out there. It always boggles the minds of a non-sim racing person, like, what is this crazy guy doing? I always like to just joke about it too. They say, what do you get out of it? Do you make any money? What? And then I just say, why do people run marathons? Like, why would you put yourself through that, right? Just for a medal or whatever. But if you enjoy it enough, and that's what you like to do, that's as much as I can say. It is something I enjoy so much. The physicality of it, especially with our motion rigs, you get hot, you sweat, your hands are hurting. I have blisters actually. So it's an endurance test in a sense, mental, physical, and just the accomplishment at the end of it, surviving it. It feels good. And lastly, the adrenaline. I'm a total adrenaline junkie. Anything that gets that adrenaline going, and sim racing can actually do that for you, which is surprising to most people. That's a tough one. I can't pick one because it's between Kimi Räikkönen or Juan Pablo Montoya. And if I have to be honest, Greg Moore, as a Canadian champ car guy, but passed away too soon. And as a kid, that's got to be something that stood out to me. It was like on Halloween or something in '99, and it's just like, that was somebody I was so into following, and it's like, man, so that impacted me, but didn't scare me away from racing or anything like that. You know the dangers, but you also know how fun it can be. That's a deep question. You know, for the good and also for the bad, it takes up a lot of time. To be honest, you know, if you're talented at it, I'm sure you could jump into a sim and pull off some good laps here and there. But with anything, you gotta practice and plug away those hours and really put in the hours to get good. So yeah, a lot of time has been invested into sim racing to get where I am at, but the enjoyment level is worth it. I would just tell them you actually have never reached that speed before or done what you're actually doing in the sim. The fact of the matter is, you know, sometimes the sensation of speed can be a bit difficult for a new person to gauge and get used to. But if you actually were to look at your speedo, you're turning into a corner at 180K and you're saying it won't turn. Like your front tires are pretty crying for grip at that point. So I don't think people realize those correlations between, you know, real life and sim. You have to dial it back a little bit. But another thing I tell people is when they scoff at, you know, sims and claiming it to be video games, I tell them airline pilots have always been training with sims for the longest time, and you can be qualified as a pilot through, you know, so many hours just from their sim training. Simulations have gotten to the point now where it's that real. I tell them race car drivers are using it now as a cost-effective, you know, means of practicing, and yeah, it actually makes people realize, yeah, you know what, pilots do train on sim. So yeah. So. That's what I would usually tell people who try to, you know, say, yeah, that's just a video game or whatnot.